A couple of years ago, I did Marissa Peer's program, Uncompromised Life. Marissa Peer is a British hypnotherapist. She's quite famous, I guess, amongst people who are into these sorts of things and into personal development. And there was something she said during the program, just one little thing she said that really stuck with me. It really hit me. And that is, your problems are someone else's fantasies. Your problems are someone else's fantasies. This makes me think of another little video that I saw about empathy, how to show empathy to someone else, to show them that you care. And a part of this little video said, don't ever silver lining somebody else's problems. So when someone says, my son's failing out of university, the silver lining person would be like, well, at least you've got a son. Or like, oh, my relationship's falling apart. Well, at least you've got a relationship, Oh, I've just lost a massive amount of money on this or that. And you're like, well, at least you had some money to invest. That kind of someone gives you a problem and you're like, well, that's not really a problem. You're lucky to be like that. And I agree with both of these things. I agree that, one, whatever your problems are at any given point, it is true that your problems are somebody else's fantasies. I also agree that if somebody is sharing how they feel, they're sharing their struggles, sharing something that is really hard for them, that they're experiencing, the response is not to negate or dismiss or debate or contradict what they're saying in any way. That's not your right. That's their experience. Their experience is their experience. If they share it, then your job is to understand, to listen and understand. That is the loving response. Kind of like if you're over at someone's house for dinner and they offer you dinner, then you're there to eat the dinner. You're not there to just push everything away and give your critique and opinion on every single dish that's served. You're not there to say, well, these potatoes aren't very good with, potatoes are full of starch. I don't know, you're not there to just push everything away. You're there to eat the dinner. If somebody shares something with you about their experience, you're there to eat what they're serving. So I agree with both of these things, but don't silver lining people's problems, but also be aware that your problems are someone else's fantasies. Also be aware that other people's problems are also someone else's fantasies. Doesn't mean you have to tell them that, but that is just the case. That is what problems are. Problems are somebody else's fantasies in some way. And so out of this kind of line of thought, I actually posted a little thought on my Instagram. I think it was sometime last year. And it was, think of somebody who to you is just so lucky. They're obscenely rich, or they just have so much that you think, God, if I had that much, then all my problems would just disappear. If I were that rich, if I had what they had, my problems would just disappear. Think about someone like that. And now, think about this, that you right now, exactly as you are, who you are, what you've got, to someone else somewhere in the world, you are that person. The person that you think about, where you're like, if I had all that, I would be, my life would be totally fulfilled and happy and perfect. If I had that, that would solve everything. Well, what you've got now, that's how someone somewhere else sees you. That is who you are to them. And so this whole way of looking at things, I think, it can be tricky because it's easy to get the wrong end of the stick, and it's easy to go, you know, oh, well, problems, there's no such thing as problems. If you have a problem, that's someone else's fantasy. Whatever problem you have, you're still lucky. It's easy to turn that into silver lininging other people's problems, including your own. It's easy to turn that into dismissing your problems, but that's not what this is about. At the heart of all of these useful truths, a truth is only a truth, and a truth is only useful if it is in alignment with love. So it's not truth, it's not a truthful way to act, to silver lining someone's problems, because that's not in alignment with love. Love accepts, love seeks to understand. You know, love is not there to dismiss somebody else, to belittle their experience. So silver lining somebody's problems, that's not truth, that's not love. On the other hand, can it be truth and can it be love to help someone to shift into this perspective of, you know, whatever your problems are, yes, they're very hard for you, and I feel your pain, and I understand that absolutely you're having a hard time. However, can you have a look at it in this way, where you understand that your problems actually are someone else's fantasies, the way they look at it? And so can you get some sort of power from understanding that whatever your problems are, whatever you've got to work with, you still have options. You still have the options, and you still have the option to choose your best response. You have the option to understand who you are better in whatever problems are going on. For sure, there will be the option to actually respond in a way and to be yourself in a way that helps you grow and become a bigger person. And that's going to just be incredible. It's going to impact everything in your life. So bringing that perspective shift to somebody, you know, is it possible to bring that to someone in a way that is loving? And for me, the answer is obviously yes, but in terms of how you just check that you're going the right way with that, for me, it's useful to kind of check these couple of things. So when you experience a problem, like something that feels like a problem, something that feels really hard in your life, there are a number of things going on there. First of all, there is your emotional response around that, your emotional journey. And so you might feel, you know, sadness, anger, despair, frustration, worry, anxiety. You might feel some incredibly hard feelings. And so that part needs processing, acceptance and processing and understanding and all of that. It doesn't need like changing or suppressing or hiding or any of that. You know, you don't mess with your emotions. Your emotions are like messages that are important to have coming through at all times. It's like kind of like the fuel tank indicator on your car telling you how much gas is in there. You don't mess with that. If you don't like it showing you that it's empty, you don't put a piece of duct tape over the display so that you can't see it anymore. That's going to cause much bigger problems for you. So that's one aspect of your problems, is that, you know, you've got all this emotional stuff that's really real, that feels very, very hard. And that is the part, this is where people go wrong all the time. They kind of see people like really sad, or really angry, really whatever. They're feeling all this stuff. And they're just like, oh my God, like, I just wish my friend were happy. And you try to like make them stop feeling that. You try to make them be some emotion they're not, or try to argue them out of it. So that is like, no, that's not loving. That doesn't work. The emotional side of things, the healthy response to that is to listen, see what the messages are, understand, seek to hear, seek to just accept what those emotions are. That's all your role is. But there's this whole other side of things, and that is the thought side of things. Now, your thoughts are very different from your emotions. Your thoughts are not like worrying around to give you, they're not like the fuel tank indicator. They're not like telling you, oh, you're out of fuel, so you need to pay attention to this. That's not what your thoughts are doing. What your thoughts are doing is they're trying to like rescue you from your emotions. They're desperately like spinning around to try to make the bad feelings go away. And the problem with this is that so many of us are caught in unhealthy thought patterns, which may have worked for us when we were children, and then we get stuck in those patterns, but they don't work for us anymore. And so like, when we were children, for example, if your parents were, shouting at you all the time and like really angry with you and told you that you were useless, you might have gotten into this thought pattern, sort of like, oh, this is my fault, and I am to blame for this. That might have been your thought response, because as a child, those are your options. You can either think, I'm to blame for this, or you can think, my parent is crazy and unable to look after me. If you think that your parent's crazy and unable to look after you, that puts you in a much more terrifying position as a child, because you can't look after yourself. It puts you in a much more powerless position. And so going into that thought pattern of, this is my fault, I just have to do A, B, and C. I have to be more quiet. I have to stay out of the way. I have to please them. I have to do these things. That is a much more empowering way for a child to think and survive than the way of thinking, my parent is crazy and I can't rely on them. My existence is in danger. But obviously, carrying that survival pattern into adulthood is going to cause lots of problems. So as grown-ups, the thoughts are spinning, and your thought pattern might be, this is all my fault. This is all my fault. I'm just not good enough. I have to do all these other things to be better, to make this situation better. Like, those thoughts are going to actually disempower you. It's going to keep you away from what you need to do. And that's just one example out of literally an infinite number of examples that could happen. So what's happening when you experience a problem and this emotional hardship is that your thoughts start worrying away to try to sort of fix the stuff that you're feeling. However, for a lot of us, most of us even, our thoughts are actually going to make us more and more and more stuck in this problem that's arising. And this will be obviously the case when you notice the same problem arising again and again and again. You're having the same argument in relationships. You're having the same situation happen like across your life, whether that's when you go into a shop or when you do business, when you with your friends. Like, if you're having patterns emerging again and again and again, what that means is that your thoughts, which are leading to your responses, are keeping you stuck in that same situation. And so the loving response to emotions and whatever, processing them, is understanding, seeking to accept, bringing compassion, all that kind of thing. The loving response to thoughts going round and round, keeping you disempowered and stuck in a place, the loving response is, well, first of all, you accept those are your thoughts. And you do seek to understand yourself. But understanding yourself is not the same thing as agreeing with your thoughts. So like understanding yourself is not saying, oh yeah, you are worthless, you are to blame, you do need to please people more through X, Y, and Z. That is not what it means to be understanding of yourself having those thoughts. There's like a detachment that happens between the thoughts you are thinking and who you are. So understanding yourself does not mean going over here and agreeing with all that. Understanding that you're having those thoughts just means, wow, noticing, wow, I'm having really difficult thoughts arise and really critical thoughts, self-critical thoughts arise. And so you don't go into that thought stream going, well, is it true? Am I worthless? Am I terrible? And you don't get drawn into that thought stream. You sit on the riverbank as the thought river goes past and you go, oh, this thought arose. That's really hard. Ooh, I'm thinking these really harsh things about myself. Or you might go into a sort of like thought spin, like your thought river might be, oh, they're to blame, that sucks, everyone's mean to me, that person's awful, right? So you don't go into like, yes, that's true, all that stuff. That's not what you do with the thought stream. What you do is like, you notice, I'm having these thoughts, and how do these thoughts make me feel? I feel awful. These thoughts are really hard. These thoughts are really painful. And then you bring compassion to the fact that you're having these painful thoughts and whatever. But then the thing that gets you into a different mode is when you release those thoughts to go on your way, or at least put in the intention to release those thoughts to go on their way, and you bring in your intention to allow thoughts to flow that are loving, allow thoughts to flow that love yourself, that are in alignment with who you are. And so that's where this whole thing comes in, that is, your problems are somebody else's fantasies. Your problems are someone else's fantasies. Anything that can bring you a perspective shift in terms of the way you're thinking about your problems, that is potentially super helpful and super powerful in just getting you started to get away from being pulled down this thought stream that you're accustomed to always getting pulled down. And that's why this was so powerful to me when I heard it, when I heard Marissa Peer say, your problems are someone else's fantasies. And then it got me thinking about like, wow, that is such an incredibly empowering perspective shift. So when I am experiencing a problem, you know, how can I bring this perspective shift to my problem? So I have a pretty dodgy relationship with money, a really unhealthy relationship where I come with a lot of scarcity programming from my childhood, from my growing up, you know, all of the programming I received and all of the stuff that I the way I responded to all of that was to understand life as being, you know, understand myself as not having enough money now or ever. Even though on a conscious level, I've always believed that, you know, that I'm aligned with abundance, that resonates with who I truly am. I've always believed that I'm going to be fabulously wealthy in every way possible in my future. I've always genuinely believed that. And yet underneath, I've got all this scarcity program, which drives my thoughts and actions. And because of that, over the years, I've accumulated what to me feels like a very large amount of debt. It's something that my income is never going to my income as it has been up to now is never going to get rid of. And so out of that mentality, I thought, well, you know, I'm not really very good at making money. So, you know, how can I generate some money to pay off these debts. And I thought, I think I might be quite good at trading Forex, like foreign exchange. And so with this in mind, you know, over the past few years, I put in quite a lot of money for me into trading Forex. And last year, at one point, I had put in 15,000 pounds, British pounds, and like a big sort of movement happened in the market that was opposite to my positions, and my portfolio went down to about 3,000 pounds. And I thought, God, I've been doing this for like 3 years with the goal to generating some money to pay down my debts. But the reality is I've put in 15,000 and now I have 3. I'm in a much worse position. And then my mind started going, well, what could I have done with that 12,000 pounds if I just not even invested anything in the first place? I was like, gosh, with like 12,000 pounds, I could have like put a driveway into my, like, I could have created a driveway for my house so I'd have some off-street parking. I could have, like, I don't know, maybe done these other big projects where I was just dismissive, out of hand, because those things seemed too expensive for me. And so my mind started going down that route, which is like the negative money scarcity stuck thought stream. And at that point, I brought in Marissa Peer's Your Problems Are Someone Else's Fantasies. And I thought, right now, this position that I'm in, having lost 12,000 pounds on the Forex market, that is somebody else's fantasies. Like, in what reality is it the absolute end of the world that if I were to close my Forex account right now, I'd have 3,000 pounds? Like, how many people, how many millions of people in the world would just think that's incredible, that I'm so like devastated, emotionally turbulent, all of that kind of thing, over the fact that if I close this account, 3,000 pounds will be deposited into my bank account. And I thought, you know, this reality is not, like, it is my problem, but it's someone else's fantasy. So yeah, I'm going to stop talking about this, but so yeah, with your problems, you've got your emotional side, you've got your thought stuff. The emotional stuff needs understanding, compassion, love. The thought stuff needs some self-awareness, and it needs a little diversion. It needs a little bit of something going into the stream where those thoughts that you're habitually thinking can be released, and you can start thinking some new thoughts. You need a perspective shift. That's the only thing that's going to get you unstuck from any recurring problems. There needs to come something new. There needs to come an awareness that starts shifting your thoughts in a completely different direction. So I hope that's useful. Blessings and lots of love. I don't know if this will mean anything to you, because these are the things that, truth is like stuff that we all know. We all know in our heads, but it's so hard to really know them in our tough situations, or even to know how we're not applying these truths or how we can. But I want to leave you with one final thought on this little message, and that is, you have everything you need right now to live your absolute best life right now. What you need to live your best life today, in alignment with your highest self, in alignment with your most joyful, your most peaceful self. Everything you need for that, you have right now, today. And you are absolutely everything that you need to be right now. We are all on this journey of growing all the time, but that doesn't mean that being our highest self is postponed to some other time. You are your highest self right now. It's within you, and you can connect to that. You have everything you need. You are everything you need. Everything in this moment is perfect for this moment.